and welcome to another Dove Dive, where I am put on to musics and melodies from the deepest, darkest dungeons of your computer disk. I am the host of this particular Dove Dive, Joe Dove. And this week, I will be talking about Mary Bauer's favorite band, VNV Nation. What's up, guys? Thank you for joining me again for another Dove Dive. I appreciate the return, and I hope you are a big industrial / synthwave enthusiast. Again, the sound from the late 80s, mid 80s into 2001. It never really went away. It's always been around us, but it just comes in resurgences. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to get that computer disk hopping and dropping so that I can dive into VNV Nation. If you want to put me on to different musics and melodies from your computer disk, feel free to follow us on Instagram at DisDungeon, on TikTok at DisDungeon, and in other various social medias like Twitter at DisDungeon. Are you getting the theme? Good. Reach out to me. Let me know of an artist that you wish for me to listen to and dive deep into. I'll be more than happy to take that chance. Hey, here we go. Let's get into VNV Nation. The VNV in the name stands for Victory Not Vengeance. Keeping with the group's motto, one should strive to achieve, not sit in bitter regret. Ronan Harris was born and raised in Dublin, Ireland, where he was exposed to electronic music via radio programmed, from which he developed an interest in bands such as Kraftwerk, DAF, and the Human League. Future Perfect, while retaining many industrial elements, represented a departure in many ways, largely away from the EBM, towards the trance and synth pop. And we all know how much I love synth pop. Ronan Harris moved to London in 1989, where he began to compose music under the name Nation, a 1984-inspired electronic orchestral music project. The group's first release as VNV Nation was known as Advance and Follow. It came out in 1995. The band's electronic beats were heavily influenced by Nitzer, Ebb, and Front 242, which I'm very familiar with because of DJ Darkstar, who put me onto this type of music in the mid-90s. I may have heard a song or two by VNV Nation. I went to dive and see what depths I could find their music, and I do believe I've heard one or two songs. The band's first album, Advance and Follow, was more of a demo than a proper album. In 2001, it was re-released as Advance and Follow 2.0. It was updated with far superior vocals, a better synthwave track, and industrial sounds, as well as 5 bonus tracks, which include Front 242 covers. It's time to Dove Dive. Future Perfect by VNV Nation. Let's dive into the album's highlights, shall we? This album is a beautiful blend of a taste of the industrial with a cup of electronica, and resulting in what some call the music of the future, synthwave. In this vein, it is a recurring theme, lately for me anyway. It plays heavily into my travels into the city and back home on the my daily drives from weekend gigs. Might hear a song or two, maybe now even VNV Nation, thanks to Mary. It is a perfect match for my ears. Drive on to the studio or kick the back of a bus seat. The 4th studio album by the band VNV Nation is recorded in Nationhood Studios in Hamburg, Germany. I'm going to go with my 4 favorites on the album, but I highly recommend the self-dive into this VNV Nation. The beats and kits make you want to ride that ever-powerful wave of synth that still has its root origins in the industrial. One of my favorite songs on this was Electronaut. This is the call from the distant future. The fast tempo drum kit with unearthly hum just feels like you're traveling through a time in a dark city. Towards the center, bracing for something magical to happen. The pace hastens. It brings you down a road, and then the beat pushes you like your heart beating as you run further and further until you have arrived. There was something special about this one. It grabbed me like instrumentals tend to do. It left a mark, and it stitched into my memory. Because with a lot of synth and industrial tunes, the trap, so to speak, that ever pulsating simultaneous drum and snare sticks in your head and lingers long after you stop listening to the album. The next track I dove into that sticks out in my mind, mainly because of the poetry connected to it, is Beloved. Mary especially mentioned this particular song to me. Just so you know, Mary Bauer is a former co-worker of mine in another time, point, and space. Those years of my life before the modern plague where I smiled more and danced less. Actually, I still don't dance, so I kind of just wiggle. Anyway, Mary is a pistol. She's ready to fire, and I'm grateful for her participation here. And I'm also grateful for the years that we've spent together in the workforce. I've had a lot of laughs with her, and we join several Facebook groups and stay in touch. It's one of the people that kept me sane during all this madness of the last 4 years, and especially this year in the pandemic. So big thanks to you, and I appreciate you subscribing to the podcast. So this song, Beloved. At first it was seen like the opening of a ceremony for a very large event, something like the Olympics, or maybe WrestleMania for my friends like AJ Orsini. A soft but gentle tune, keys stretched out long, just to bring you to the moment. Then you arrive, and the song picks up. This traveling metaphor seems to work best for this album. A lot of their videos that I've noticed have a lot to do with them walking around, so I don't know if it's just some type of embedded correlation in my mind, but it just seems to click. And again, that synth pulse just overtakes the lyrics that stood out to me on this particular song. It's colder than before. The seasons took all they had come for. Now winter dances here. It seems so fitting, don't you think? To dress the ground in white and gray. It's so quiet. I can hear my thoughts touching every second. That I spent waiting for you. Circumstances affords me no second chance to tell you how much I've missed you, my beloved. Do you know, when the warm wind comes again, another year will start to pass. And please don't ask me why I'm here. It's something deeper brought me here. I'm rather surprised at how much poetry was placed into this track. That tick of the drum synth machine, it just spits into the song almost as seemingly into another track mid-song. Very cool way to showcase the synthesizer, perhaps the old Roland TR-08. So much fun, the song picks up once more and slowly drifts midway just into the hum, as if it were reflecting on someone that the singer has lost. Seems to have deeper meanings than your standard retro feel. A lot of the other songs, like you would get from FM84 and Gunship, seem to be more of tapping into that nostalgic vein in your heart, whereas this one is trying to tap into your heart itself. There's something leveled up here, and I really enjoyed the moments I spent listening to this. It's almost as if the singer is just moving the genre forward with the pumping of his keys and the depths of the metaphors and darkness that come into the lyrics on this particular track. The next song, Genesis. You know, this is the second time I'm hearing the sound of the Apollo landing in a song. Mike Oldfield brought the theme Let There Be Light in his Songs of a Distant Earth with the same such tune. It's very subtle on his, but this one has more focus. And I both believe it's the changing of millennia, because this album came out in 2001, whereas Mike Oldfield's came out in the late 90s. And both are at the change from the 1990 to the big 200. It's quite interesting how musicians tapped into this genre at that time to build us into what was supposed to be a blissful, bright future. This is the future we live in. It's full of repetitiveness from the past. A great plague, almost depressions, wars. It's kind of just the world repeating itself. I was hoping for flying cars and time travelers, maybe aliens or something. Something to differentiate us from them and make us become one planet and them become some otherworldly travelers. But I digress. This is by far the best club music of the album. This song is much more upbeat and has such a stronger pace. I can see people dancing around with glow sticks, hopping up and down in the club, maybe a Limelight back in the day, just to enjoy this before it shuttered down with all its treachery. In the bounce of your head of this faster wave of music, you have some really cool lyrics. Again, with you I stand in hope that God will save us from ourselves, every cry a wasted moment, until another day is lost. Even lands once we called home lie in undiscovered and unknown. Only heaven's silence for an answer. And did our laughter, did our tears have some purpose after all? Did we toil in vain in the hopes that wisdom came from what we've done? Even lands we once called home lie undiscovered and unknown. Only heaven's silence for an answer. There's also a great remix version I stumbled on while listening to this particular track. The remix is called Genesis 2. It's a lot fun. It's a lot faster. And it's definitely something to pop into your tunes. Fearless. Friends, this one hit different. There wasn't a slow throw. It was Quicksilver. Though using the familiar drum kit and almost a tingling sound of a phaser fire. This track was a call to conquer. The call of the phrase which is repeated in this song, I'm not alone, I'm not afraid, I'm not unhappy. I can see this being the mantra of someone who doesn't want to go into the dark, dismal depths of the daily dreaded drive to work. It's certainly a drive to keep going, a motivation high to compete and complete your daily activities and move on to the next day. There's something interesting about the lead singer's voice, and it's really come to light in this song particularly. It's strong yet troubled. He sounds like one of those people that you run into your time on this earth that knows more than he can say. He's someone to listen to when he bellows his lyrics in each song, especially this one. It doesn't seem like there's much going on here, but I feel like there's a message to be decoded, a puzzle or an enigma, so to speak. And like the band Enigma, there's a hidden truth in these lyrics, a warning or a message that we should adhere to. I'm glad it was surrounded in a package of dance music, though. It makes the experience more fun. Well, friends, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you for taking this Dove Dive with me. It's always good to have friends along for it. So many thanks to Mary Bauer for this one. Hey, if you're listening to the end, I just started a Patreon. So if you're interested, you can join a level. And each level, you get a really cool disc dungeon magnet. Yes, that's right. A die-cut disc dungeon magnet. Then you could put on any metallic surface. You know, it works great on refrigerators, but it's really cool on your car. So if you become a patron, I'll send you one. It's really fun. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm not going to do too much plugging. I will say that we are so glad to have Lorne put us on to Brenda Kahn next week. And when I say us, I mean I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to give you my thoughts on the album, and I'm going to dive deep into the artist. So Brenda Kahn is going to be the Kahn, that's a call, for next episode of the Dove Dive. That'll be in 2 weeks. I appreciate your time. I hope you subscribe. And if you have a moment, if you don't want to join the patronage, you can just give me a rating in the iTunes Apple Podcast if you're on an iPhone. I appreciate it, and the more ratings, the more eyes get on this, and who knows? Maybe I can just build a house, have a studio in the center, and have the podcast emanate from there. Until next time, friends, live well.